Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in on the replay. This is the Vault, episode 603, Successor Trustee Gen 2 Conversations. And definitely want to start out and thank everybody that's going to be hitting the road this week. Safe travels. Definitely look forward to connecting with you all. Business dress. Definitely going to be in a very warm. It's not going to be warm, but a very insulated environment. We will have security. No same day ticket sales. Please be prepared to be checked into the room. Definitely thank you all for traveling. We have quite a few families that are bringing first and second gen in the room. So there is a Gen Zero, that's the founder, and then you have Gen 1, Gen 2. So definitely look forward to having those, multiple generational conversations. And at the workshop, asset protection, estate planning workshop, it's going to be a great one. Look forward to connecting with you all. Dr. Bates definitely got multiple gens under his belt, and someone that can really speak from that perspective, who will be speaking from that perspective. So hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Definitely appreciate everybody that is coming. Look forward to connecting with you all. You check your email. You will get some emails this week. You know, got some people that don't want to check emails, and then they're gonna find out the hard way. Straight up. It's just how we doing it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a private event. There's no recordings. So people say, "Oh, how's it work?" Like, what do you mean? We've sat in a room for many times where our mentors, our senior partners, senior, about billionaire rooms that we sit in, they're not letting you record nothing. It's just the bottom line. It's a very sensitive information environment. People who want to take pictures, they're not really into none of that stuff. So we follow the same suit, just move in like fashion because that's the way it is. It's just the way we've been trained. So definitely appreciate everybody that's coming. Once again, ticket sales will end on Monday. I'm not really doing the whole go out through the rest of the week thing. No last minute tickets. It's just once again, we've already had a great room. We have a bunch of trustees from over a period of time that have wanted to be in the room, and they're in the room. So look forward to connecting with them. Once again, appreciate you all. So, Successor Trustee Gen 2 Conversations, the episode 603, the Vault episode 603, Successor Trustee Gen 2 Conversations. And this is one of those topics that we could easily sit here and talk hours on, because that's what you're doing as a senior trustee. You're preparing the successor, you're preparing the next generation of trustees. It is so important to do that. And so we appreciate everybody that makes it a point to actually connect with the next generation. We sit in a room with a lot of wealthier families that are on multiple generations, Gen 5, Gen 7. Some people should feel honored to get that far. And we do have families that are a little honored to get that far down the line and still have track of things and still hold a substantial amount of capital. And a lot of things that we've heard, you know, is that you really want to make it a point to involve your successors in the meetings earlier, so even though they may not be able to make fiduciary decisions, even though they may not be able to communicate in the meeting sometimes, maybe they just a fly on the wall. It's better to have them sit in the room, having a little talk, sit in the room playing with their Legos, or sit in the room playing with their toys, because it's better for them to be in the room than for them not to be in the room. So we've had trustees for generations now, and for multiple workshops coming to the trustee training, and they literally will bring their next generation in the room. 10 years old, we've had 16-year-olds in the room, we've had 18-year-olds in the room. Usually, anyone under 18 can come in the room for free with their parents. That's not really a big deal. That's just something that we encourage. And so, once again, the focus is being able to facilitate those conversations. Your children are going to learn directly and indirectly. So it's best for them to come in the room in general than for them to not be in the room. So it's not an advantage by not having them in the room. There's a disadvantage by not having them in the room. By not engaging them in those conversations, by not involving them in the rooms that they're going to be in over a period of time is a detriment. And so by having them in the room, it's an advantage because you don't have to beat it into your kids. You know, you don't have to beat it into the next gen, your grandkids. All you got to do is just have them around, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we understand that, children are going to be children. They don't want to sit still in some adult meeting for, all these hours, and they don't want to just sit there. So our environment is very interactive. We have frequent bathroom breaks. We have frequent networking breaks for a quick second, and we do move accordingly. So, it's very, very important to do so. We appreciate everybody that does that. But once again, we're aware that the children don't always want to sit in the room. So, we have to make it a point to have an area in the back for them so they can feel comfortable. And as well for the parents to feel comfortable to know that you got to have them in the room so they can learn directly, indirectly, so they can see the environment that they're going to get used to at one point, so they can see the people that they're going to interact with at one point and feel comfortable with those people, knowing that these people are not anything, out there out of the norm. They're going to understand what their water seeking level is, what they're supposed to be connecting with, what they should feel comfortable connecting with. Knowing how to shake somebody's hand, knowing how to wear a button-up shirt properly. These things are important when you're looking to groom them, ladies and gentlemen. In our environment, our families groom or they train them. And so by grooming them and training them, that comes down to the simple fact that just getting them used to the language, getting them used to the people that they're interacting with, the bankers, the lawyers, the accountants. That's what we have in the room, ladies and gentlemen. So we're looking forward to those individuals connecting, looking forward to the children being able to connect. We're going to speak on that topic. How do you prepare them? You prepare them by doing proper minutes. How do you get them involved in the conversation? You put together a weekly checklist for them, maybe a monthly checklist for them, for sure a yearly checklist for them. What's the checklist entail? Checklist entails maybe watching a certain type of movie. When people come in Trustee Training, we recommend certain movies for the children to watch, for the families to watch together. There are certain books that we recommend for the families to read together. Not all books. We got series right now that are on the internet. When we talk about Succession, when we talk about Billions, we talk about these TV shows. These are things to encourage your family to learn indirectly and directly. So, yes, they may watch a TV series. It may be a sort of a role play series. At the same time, it gets them prepared for the environment that they're looking to engage in. How ruthless it could be. How family is meant to stick together, how your family is supposed to comply with documents, how your family is going to know that people come along all the time thinking that they're sophisticated, and they say, oh, what about a protector? What about a protector? It's like, well, is your family going to be the trustee or are they going to be somebody that's a beneficiary? Because that's what makes the difference between you needing the protector or them needing the protector or not. J2 conversations. Not talking about finance can be a detriment sometimes. We were looking at something earlier today with a family, and this family, elite family, said we don't talk about money. Think about how much of a detriment that is. Now, granted, they sit in a business meeting, they're 4 generations deep, and they don't talk about money, ladies and gentlemen. The only time they talk about money is at the annual meeting, and they're not losing money. I can tell you that right now. They have a financial advisor, and the father and the son are not involved in the main business that their great grandfather built. They were born into money. They do not have any hand to hand, day to day operations in the business. They just receive a cozy lifestyle, country club memberships, great clothes, great relationships because of their great grandfather. So they're already 3 generations deep. And once again, even the son that we sit in front of, he's not business oriented. His business oriented is philanthropy. Him wondering why and him speaking from a position of non-work ethic, which says, why are we so rich and others aren't? So that's the difference. Do you want your Gen 2, Gen 3 to sit here, not have a work ethic, and then they wonder, well, why did my great grandmother or great grandfather build this? Why did my grandfather or grandmother build this? And they don't even know why you built it. They don't even know how you built it. They don't have any reference manual. They're not able to go read the minutes. They're not able to go read the diary of that mentor at that time, or that founder at that time, or any of that. They don't have that reference. So now they're sitting over here, dang, they're trying to give you money away. So let's go over the stats. From Gen 1 to Gen 2, it's a 76% fall off rate from the wealth not being passed along. That's a hard reality for people to hear. And it's a 90% fall off from Gen 2 to Gen 3. These are statistics in the wealth environment. We sit here and we have to hear this type of stuff. It's like, man, hopefully yours aren't going to be that. But how do you ensure that? You ensure that by having conversations. Conversations need to be fluid. They need to be inclusive. They need to be engaging. They need to be fun. People take family retreats all the time to a theme park, and then they have a meeting. So it's not just entertainment. They have conversations at a log cabin. These are the things we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Conversations need to be fun, need to be engaging, need to be transparent. Letting that generation know. Letting that generation know what's going on from the previous generations. Might be hard for some people to hear, because it brings up accountability. Think about it, you get to hold the next generation accountable, because if they don't want to work, they're going to find out what it's like to not work. But they also going to find out what it took. They also going to find out, well, if I want to benefit from this, I got to work. What do you got to do? Maybe you got to get yourself educated. Maybe they have to get educated. Maybe they have to qualify, go to school. Maybe you guys provide that as a estate planning fund. You get them to go to school, because we work with Levon over at the Vault Idolette. She's third generation, ladies and gentlemen. So she had to fight for a seat at the table. As a young lady, you got to have a conversation. Having that conversation, she brings something to the table. Went to school, Olympic athlete. At the same time, she went back to school actually, and became a lawyer. So she can speak to the family from a professional perspective. That's something that's important, ladies and gentlemen. You can fortify the family by having people go to school for certain things, doctors, lawyers, going to become chartered accountants, things of that nature, international, so they can understand international law. If you think that law degree don't come in handy, when she tell you, "Oh, I'm traveling the world," she knows about international law. These are the conversations that you have with them. She didn't just let that bird fly up her nose. She understood she was looking to bring value to the family in multiple ways. Okay, yeah, I saw them lose one business. I saw one business lose a lot of value. But guess what? I got to make sure that we maintain value that moving forward. That means we need to expand not just nationally, but internationally. Having that wherewithal, having that capacity, having that drive. Allowing her to say, you know what, we don't need to be stuck in the same vertical or industry. Maybe we can go out and expand. You see a lot of families that end up expanding after the first or second gen into different industries. A lot of them. So they're not just stuck in oil and gas. They're not just stuck in real estate. That may just be a Gen 1 thing. We just needed to make sure we would never lose the capital. Okay, well, now, with this new tech stuff, you get a lot of tech conversations coming up in some of the rooms now. A lot of the younger family members are bringing up, whether you call it blockchain. We was talking to someone the other day about tokenization for real estate. That's huge, ladies and gentlemen, when people understand the fractionalization of property. They understand that, but they're doing that from a generational wealth perspective. So, facilitating those conversations, ladies and gentlemen, having those conversations about, including them in the investment plan. including them in a successor plan. Y'all don't want to know how many families don't even encourage their family to get involved. They just tell them, look, the money part has already been taken care of. Just enjoy your life. Think about that. That's a setup. The most successful families that we know that have passed along wealth and the ones that are involved actively in the estate, ultimately they would just pass down the values of the founder, Gen Zero. They were passed along those values. They understand the work ethic. How you gonna understand a work ethic when you've been given everything your whole life? This is a harsh reality. Oh man, I'm trying to make it easier for my kids. I'm trying to make it, I'm trying to make my kids live a little bit comfortable. But in turn, they don't pass along the same values, such as the grit that you need to get through things when times get tough. Oh man, well, time's not gonna be hard for them financially. Yeah, now you isolating them. Second thing you gotta do is you gotta prepare them for kidnappings. These are conversations that we have in the room when you already done made it to Gen 2. You think people don't want to kidnap somebody that's wealthy, kidnap their grandkids, kidnap their kids? You got to teach your kids to keep their head on the swivel. You got to let your kids know that the real world is not how we've been treated in the house here. Everybody's not your friend. Everybody's not as friendly as our advisors are. Everybody's not like that at the country club. Like everybody at the country club. That's just the facts. So you got to give them those values that they need so they can keep their head on the swivel. So they cannot get gaffed. Because it happens all the time. How do you teach them the values of not dealing with drugs? You got to take them down maybe to the homeless shelter. How do you take them? How do you make sure that they understand that, hey, it's not just that we're going to give charity to the homeless people at the shelter. We're going to show you what life is for some people. That's what it is. We're going to travel and make sure that we share with you the values of work ethic, communication. Why? Because sometimes you go in some of these environments, they don't know about any of that. They have maids. Think about it. When you were born with a maid, how would you know what homelessness is like? When you're born with a private chef, how do you know what do you need to cook? So, sure, Gen 2 conversations is you've been raised with a maid, you've been raised with a chef, but we're going to go teach you etiquette classes. They have etiquette classes that we know generations. They send their second and third generation to how to eat off the proper 5-course meal plates. Oh man, that's a lot to know, right? They don't maybe need to learn how to wash clothes or fold clothes, but they know etiquette classes though. They know that there is a family structure. They honor those things. See, when you're in trusteeship, you're able to preserve your family values and not be worried about social media. If you think your family's under attack right now with social media in the society, the easiest way to protect yourself is to be in trust. It's to be in a private family foundation. It's to make sure that you say, you know what? We're going to pass along family values to the next generation. That's how you do it. You pass those things along in family meetings when you have family meetings and not make excuses. It's a standard day. Just have a family meeting. Some of these families, they have family meetings. For the most part, most of us do, but at the end of the day, they don't always involve their children in these conversations. And that's why it's important to have conversations. Then we sit in one family recently, 5 years old, teaching the child about a mortgage at 5 years old. How do you replace that? You say, oh man, what does a 5-year-old need to know about a mortgage for? Clearly, because they want them to know not to get themselves handed to them. Everybody's out here running around trying to get a mortgage, or they out here complaining about the interest rates. So they understand the importance of information. They understand the importance of teaching the next generation. A lot of successful people, Gen Zero for sure, they definitely are focused on saying, man, how do I get my children involved? That's why we've been able to be successful as long as we have over at the Vault, because we sit in the rooms and we facilitate these conversations, and these conversations are really focused on just getting them involved. You got to get them involved. You got to sit them in the meetings. We have trustees that they record the meeting for the next generation. Literally. Record the meeting so they can hear how the conversation goes. So they can hear every meeting we start out with a prayer. Every meeting we start out with our reading our mission statement. Every time we get off the line, we read our mission statement. These are powerful things that holds the family together. It's powerful, ladies and gentlemen. How do you talk about those conversations, letting your children know not to fall in love with business vehicles? You know how many people are falling in love with business vehicles? Instead of understanding that businesses are meant to be sold. Businesses are assets. They're not something you fall in love with. People tell you, oh man, do what you love. That's some poor people advice. Oh man, do what you love. Trust Christian in the vault. Do you do what you love? Nah, when you dealing with successful, wealthy people, they already let us know. We done heard enough of them say, trust Christian. We did this because this was the most liquid vehicle that we needed to pivot into other vehicles. Collecting art is something that they love doing. Not building a business, losing all your time. Because you got to be responsible for employees. But oh no, you got middle class advice. Oh man, love what you do, because if you don't love it, you ain't going to be able to do it for a long time. Yeah, right. We heard that one long enough. We had to let that one go. Why? Because that's conventional wisdom. That don't work when you looking to build wealth. Successors, trustee, Gen 2 conversation, the mentors, the families who sit around and say, trust Christian, you got to make sure that you focused on doing a series of transactions. You got to have multiple businesses in your lifetime. Not one business that you fell in love with. That's that poor people advice. Oh man, fall in love with the business. Then when the economy changes, how many people went out of business with a restaurant? You know how many people went out of business during COVID? How you change that? You got to make sure that people understand that you got to pay yourself first. How many people know that? But what happens when they Gen 2, Gen 3, and they haven't started a business, and you got to make sure that they know this before they go into business, that they got to pay themselves, they got to pay the employees, and they got to be prepared for an exit. That's what the mentors and we've been trained to do. It's a process, ladies and gentlemen. Letting them know it's a process of maintaining wealth from multiple generations to the next. Those conversations are going to be facilitated by you allowing them in the room. That's why we allow 18 and under in the room for free at the workshop. So if you're all listening, you got your children and you want them to come and they under 18, just feel free to reach out. Let us know their names so they can sit in the room. So we can have them on the list. Taking private family retreats. Letting them see the world. Taking them to a homeless shelter. Giving them Thanksgiving, going to give out Thanksgiving turkeys on Thanksgiving to people that are less privileged. That's how you keep them from thinking that, oh man, everything's like how we live in. It is like that. We want to have that paradigm. But we also want, to know that, hey, you know what I mean? Children get on drugs just because they get in a per diem and they living somewhere. Like, that's the easiest thing. I don't want to know that. That's the easiest thing. Outside of having an asset manager manage the funds for them, we've literally seen it where they're on drugs. Straight up. If y'all need us to name the type of drugs they on the drugs that you don't want them to be on. It ain't just the regular light stuff. It ain't just, it ain't the light stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It's because they have funds now and they have no work ethic. All they do is just walk around. Spending money that the dad or the mom or whoever set up. The way that you instill them wanting it. Then we, even that individual we thinking about, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go into business at one point, but they had no motivation to go into business. And then why do you think the family's not going to lead the business to them directly? Because they weren't trained for business. It's a leisure. It's not a leisure. You got to be aggressive. You got to be strategic, tactical. You got to be assertive in business. You just going to give somebody the business and let them just come in here and say, oh man, I'm going to do everything my dad or mom didn't do correctly. That's how they talk. I'm going to do what my mom and dad didn't do. Yeah, right. That's called make it fail. Clearly it's been successful without you. But now you got second or third gen coming in. Oh man, hey, you just go and try. I'm gonna do everything my parents didn't do since they weren't home anyways. I'm gonna try to have work-life balance. So once again, watching those movies, watching the TV series that we talk about. That's what we share with our trustees in the training is how those conversations. Those conversations come from watching movies. We got movies that are focused around philanthropy. That are mentors. We talk to our mentors about that stuff. Hey, here's a movie for you, Christian. Trust Christian. You watch this with your family. It'll change some of their perspectives, and then you have a conversation about it. Maybe you encourage your children to write a book report about it. Just write a 3 to 5 sentence paragraph about it. Put that in as the family memorabilia. What do we think of this? It's so easy to do, but it's so easy not to do. And now you see why it's a 70% fall off. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Look forward to seeing everybody at the workshop. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Ticket sales end Monday in the evening. Christian at trustchristian.com. Christian at trustchristian.com. Look forward to hearing from you all at the workshop. This is going to be a barn burner. Definitely bring a pen and pad. We'll provide pen and pad, coffee and tea, and water, but definitely be prepared. It's going to be a excellent, excellent, excellent. Look forward to serving everybody there. Looking them get fed, and just make sure that we put a quality plan in place, put some quality structure in place, have the family moving forward. And being on the same page. It's never going to be easy to get everybody on the same page because you got outside forces working against you. It's almost like you got what they say God, and then you got the outside world. You got the devil. If you want to keep your family intact with the God, y'all got to put some values. You got to put a principle. You have to put the mission, the main thing, so we can hold true to the main thing is the main thing for our family. That's how we got to do it. Appreciate you all. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace and joy.